Hello, I'm Ash Price.
I'm Des O'Gorman.
And we are doing a little short special today. Des,
Yes.
do you remember what you did this weekend?
Well, Ash, whatever gets up to in my own private... Oh, right, I see what you mean.
No. What you did publicly.
Oh, right, okay, that's all right.
Which you're never allowed to do again.
Yes, I went to Dimension Jump, I believe it was Dimension Jump 22
Wow.
in Nottingham.
What is Dimension Jump, Des?
Dimension Jump is a special Red Dwarf convention for all the smegheads out there who enjoy watching the episodes of the Small Rouge one.
What was it like? I mean, you went for what? It was 2 days?
It was a 3-day event. They did something on the Friday night. It was kind of like a pub quiz type thing, and then a disco, and then they had like panels of things on the Saturday and the Sunday where you could go talk to the guests and so on and so forth. And it was good. We arrived on the Friday night, and yeah, I'm gonna have to be honest. It did feel weird and slightly scary being in a large, which is essentially like a ballroom where you probably have a wedding in a hotel, and like next to nobody was wearing a mask. Obviously, this was in September of 2021, where England is mostly coming out of COVID lockdown, so there was next to no masks. There was sanitizer points, and we did kind of feel a little uncomfortable.
I mean, especially because I don't want to turn this into a COVID.
So let's make this quick so it doesn't bog it down.
Sanitizer does next to nothing to help with COVID. It's an airborne virus.
But anyway, so we spent most of our time wearing the masks, and once that the main thing was over, the rest of the weekend did kind of open up a little bit better, because it meant that people were spread out more, and we could be a bit more comfortable whilst going to like certain panels and things. So it was good. We really enjoyed it.
Who was there?
Danny John Jules, who played Kat, was there. Norman Lovett and Hattie Hayridge, thank you. I always get her name wrong. I apologise. So both Hollies was there. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to get up the rest of the who else.
Lee Corns. I think you mentioned Lee Corns was there. He played Paranoia.
He did. Yeah. What most people were referring to him when he was there was that I did not know that he was in Bottom. He played Dick the bartender.
I mean, to be honest, Lee Corns, most 80s and early 90s comedies, I think Lee Corns appeared in, because he was in Blackadder as well.
That's right. And he did a brilliant panel, which we saw, where he spoke about how he used to mess with the audience during his comedy. And he did like this brilliant bit of like he was in the middle of a story and he would just go, yeah, so where did I park my car? No, hang on. Train. I came by train. And then he just went on. I think that's brilliant. Who else was there? Johnny Vegas was there for like a little bit. He kind of showed up on the Friday night, did some stand-up, took part in the auction, and some of the auction bits, Ash. Oh,
your wife won a...
She won a signed poster from Dimension Jump 21. So this one was 22. Was it 22? No, this one was 21. This one was 21. So she.
I know. From March 2020, it has seemed like it's just the same.
Sorry, yeah, she got one from Dimension Jump 19 because it was X1X, and it was a beautifully designed poster, and it had Chris Barry, it had Craig Charles, it had Robert Llewellyn, it had Danny John Jules, it had the main guys on it, and so yeah, we were happy with that.
Well, now thanks to you, because you picked some stuff up for me, because I got the tongue-tied music video that came out in the 90s, and I've got a few other things.
Yep.
And I've been building up my cast autograph collection, and I had most of the main cast. I had Chris Barry, which when I was younger I wrote to his agent and got an autograph that way. Norman Lovett, you gave me one of his because I didn't have one. Chloe Annette I bought from a reputable auctioneer. Robert Llewellyn I met at a book signing 20 years ago now.
Nice.
No, God, more than that, like 24 years ago.
Yeah, we be old.
We be old. And I also had Craig Charles. Right, I got signed when I met him when he was opening a McDonald's drive-thru.
I believe in this podcast, this is like the 7th or 8th time that you have said that you met Craig Charles when he was opening up a McDonald's. Weird. I know. Unfortunately, Craig Charles wasn't there this weekend, but we did get Zoom chats with Chris Barry and Robert Llewellyn.
Oh, wow.
They were lovely chats. Robert Llewellyn is just a bundle of sweet energy. He's just really, really sweet and awesome. One of the things I did like about this is that this is specifically for Red Dwarf fans, which means that when you pay your ticket, you just pay for the hotel while you're there, and you can buy the merchandise. I was going to say tat. It's not tat. You can buy the merchandise that's there. They had like a lot of Red Dwarf stuff, obviously. But one of the things I really like is that contained in the ticket is an autograph. So every guest that's there would give an autograph.
And that's really unusual for conventions.
Yeah, because usually the signing would be something separate. If you wanted to like get a group shot, that's a bit more. I wasn't too fussed about that, if I'm being honest with you. And if I'm being more honest, I didn't feel comfortable being at a group shot in a confined photography studio, so I didn't bother with that. But I still got to go up and I got to meet everybody. I bought at the merchandise desk. They had Japanese promo posters.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I got that signed by everybody.
Yeah, because I mean, Red Dwarf. We kind of forget how huge of a global phenomenon Red Dwarf is. I always remember. I think on the Smeg Out video, I think Craig Charles was telling, or one of the extras of the DVD or something, he was telling a story about how he was in Brooklyn or Boston or somewhere, and he went into this little tiny shop where the guy didn't speak English very well, and he kind of dragged Craig Charles to the back of the shop, and Craig Charles was like really worried something was going to happen, and there was apparently a load of chaps just sat around a TV watching Red Dwarf.
Who would have thought that Red Dwarf would bring people together? It's like the little things that I love. One of the things that was auctioned off, and I haven't told you this yet, Ashley, I want to gauge your reaction, was that they sold the original head of the Vindaloo monster from the episode DNA.
How much did that go for?
I think it was like £560.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's nice to be rich. You get nice things.
There was like some weird things that happened there. Like there was a small like plate. It's not like a dinner plate. It was kind of like a certificate plate of a starbug that apparently was used in one shot. It was like no bigger than a mobile phone. It was about that size, and it was beautifully engraved. And I thought, this would be okay. This probably won't go for anything. This thing nearly went for 700 quid because people just kept bidding on it. And before that, they sold one of the original scripts from Can't Smeg, Won't Smeg from the 10th anniversary. This thing was an original shooting script that was signed by everybody there. Oh. And they had sides, which is like prompts for the actors, so kind of like idiot boards. That was included with it. Directions on where to go for the filming. That went for £100.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose screen used stuff is kind of more...
But we're talking like a plate that was probably in like one shot in a background somewhere.
Yeah, that's odd.
So I couldn't really figure it out. There was a beautiful thing that happened was that what was his name? Matthew Clark, who was the set designer for series 11 and Promised Land, and he designed the display panels on Starbug's drive room. So like the panels that the audience would see, and he sold 2 backlit versions of them, screen used, that was taken out of the set. Now, the first one, Johnny Vegas was hosting the event, but he was, let's say, a little full of the giggle juice.
I'm not a big fan of Johnny Vegas.
I wasn't either.
The episode he was in is contender for the worst episode of Red Dwarf in my mind.
But let's keep on point here though. He got in a bidding war with another member of the audience, and he paid nearly £400 for this item, which really annoyed some of the guests, some of the people that were bidding on.
I can understand why. It's like, that's actually shitty. That's really shitty.
It's a little shitty. Thank you. But he got into a bidding war and then he won it. And then the next day, for those, I was moving over a cup of tea and it kind of burnt my hand. So, smeg in hell. The next day, Johnny was only there for one night and he stayed around for some morning shots with people. He was still hungover because he didn't get to bed till 4 in the morning that night. And then he had to go because he had dental work that he had to do. So rather than sticking around for everybody to get an autograph, he just signed a load of promos and one was given it to everybody. But anyway, he did this whole bidding war thing. So he outbid the person in the audience for this plaque. The next night, they did another auction and they were selling the same thing. It was a beautiful backlit frame with the inlay of the Starbug panels. And it was one of the most wonderful things ever, is that there was a kid in the front row. He must have been like 11 or 12. I suppose that's a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a kid.
Yeah, and he was in the bidding. And he kept putting his hand up and he's just going, £80, £90. And the person that was doing the auction was Lee, who does the warm-up for the crowd for the live recording. And he was heading back and forth, and he saw this kid, and he asked him his name and how old he was, and are you able to afford this? And he's like, well, my daddy said that I could have it. And he just went, okay, how much is your dad wanting to bid for this? And the dad, like, he said, about 140, 150. He says, well, you know what? 150, that's what I'm going to go for. 1, 2, 3, boom, it's yours. Which I thought was really sweet. Which was really sweet and really nice. But how fucked would that person be who was bidding on that? Just going, I could have gotten for like 200 or 300 quid.
Yeah.
I could have gotten that.
But the thing is, the Red Dwarf conventions seem to have always been really quite nice with kids. Like, on the Smeg Outs video, there's like a section that covers the convention from that year.
Yeah.
And there's just a little kid there who's probably now older than us. And like just the way Craig Charles talks to him, and it's just so really, really nice. Really accommodating.
Yeah, I've been to many conventions. Through my hosting and through the Ghostbusters, I've been to a lot of conventions, and usually a convention is kind of split up to, like, you've got the Star Wars guys, you've got the Star Trek guys, you've got the anime guys, so on and so forth, and that's nice. But there can be like that divide when you go to a con. With this one, because everybody's just there for Red Dwarf, you really do feel connected. And everybody there was just like really nice and sweet. Obviously, I knew Kerry King, who's one of the people that does that helps out with Dimension Jump, and I've known her through the cons at. She does the Geek Asylum, and she's lovely, and she was there and really, really sweet and lovely, and a big shout out to her because she made myself and my wife and my mates feel welcomed. Everybody felt welcomed, and it was just an incredible atmosphere. And I'm planning to go back again.
I hope next year I plan to go with you.
I'm going to take Ash with me. I'm going to take his wife with me so that his wife can hang around with my wife. Because Yolanta, she likes Red Dwarf. She wouldn't consider herself the biggest fan of Red Dwarf.
The girls can go and kind of enjoy themselves while you and I act like children.
Well, Yolanta had a great time as well because she was able to like walk around and, you know, she had a good time.
Good, I'm glad.
At least that's what she told me. She could just be lying, I don't know. But it was a great event, and the fact that Rob Grant was there.
Yes, you said he was there. He wasn't doing a panel or anything.
He did a panel.
Oh, he did a panel.
It wasn't really a panel. It was him and the executive producer, Paul Jackson, were there, and they did like a long talk of how Red Dwarf was created and how they started off in the BBC, and then they showed clips of a TV show called 3 of a Kind, which is they had the actors Lenny Henry and David Copperfield was one of the actors in it. Not the magician. It was just an actor from like the late 70s, early 80s who was called
David Copperfield. So you've got the Dickensian character, you've got the magician, and you've got an actor, all called David Copperfield.
Yep.
What if they are all the same person?
No, they're not. So they showed clips of that, and then they answered a few questions. But Rob Grant was outside, and I was able to get my copy of Colony signed by him because I think he's a brilliant author in his own right, and I managed to get Red Dwarf's Primordial Soup signed for you, and it was just really, really nice. And anybody that's humming and hawing about going to a Red Dwarf convention, go. You don't need to be the biggest fan out there. They are accepting of everybody. The people are really, really friendly. The guests are really, really sweet. I would say that if you're a little bit apprehensive about going back to cons, do what I did. Wear a mask. Keep your hands sanitized. If you don't feel comfortable with something, that's perfectly fine.
I have been wanting to go to Dimension Jump for 25 years. And hopefully next year I will actually go.
And you will, and you will be there, and you will have a great smegging time, and it was wonderful and lovely, and you should do it. Anybody else that's out there, go to Dimension Jump. In fact, go to any convention. Show your nerdy love like back in the good old pre-COVID days. Yeah. Get yourself back out there. Have a good smegging time. Yes.
Well, all right. Well, I think that brings us nicely to the end of that little thing.
I think so.
I'm glad you had a great weekend, and with everything that's happened over the past year and a half, it was nice to have, I guess, that level of normality back to some degree.
It was nice
and
lovely.
Here's to Dimension Jump in 2022.
Here's hoping. Yeah. For now, I'm trying to think of an apt Red Dwarf quote to end this episode on.
For now, smeg off.
Yes, smeg off, you smegging smeggers. Yes, there we go. Bye for now.